My name is Natalie Mercer, and I'm 32 years old. Until recently, I would have told you I was very good at reading people. Not the dramatic, psychic type you see on social media, not the kind where you just know someone's a red flag. I mean the quiet, adult kind. The one you learn after paying attention for years, noticing patterns when no one thinks anyone is watching. I thought I knew my boyfriend Colin well enough. After 6 years of his hard work, saving every extra dollar, sacrificing vacations and weekends, he'd built up $80,000 for a down payment on our dream house. Every overtime shift, every duct-taped steering wheel, every skipped weekend away, it was all for us, he always said. I, on the other hand, was a spender. Brunches with friends, new clothes, small indulgences, stuff that felt effortless to me, but clashed with Colin's meticulous planning. Opposites attract, they say. And somehow, for a long while, it worked. 3 months ago, we found the house. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a sunlit backyard, perfect in every way. It was $340,000. His savings would cover the down payment and closing costs. We talked endlessly about paint colors, furniture layouts, and which bedroom would become a gaming setup versus a reading nook. Everything felt normal, exciting, promising. Colin had been working 60-hour weeks and I had more free time, so I offered to handle the mortgage paperwork. My cousin worked at a mortgage company and promised to streamline the process. Colin trusted me completely. I had his bank statements, pay stubs, tax returns. Every document he could think of, I had. I smiled at him when I said, "Relax, I've got this." And he did. Then last week, everything changed. Colin got a call while stacking pallets at the warehouse. The world seemed to hit pause on his end. "Hi, is this Mr. Mercer? This is the title company calling about your closing on Friday." The words were calm, but what came next made his chest tighten. "We show an $82,000 down payment coming from your account," the voice said, "but you're not on the title or mortgage application. You'll need to sign a gift letter stating this is a gift with no repayment expectation." Silence. Colin didn't speak. He couldn't. Not on the application, not on the mortgage. My name alone was listed. His mind spun. He pulled up his email, searched every message. Nothing from the mortgage company. All the papers I'd shown him over the past month were carefully curated. Inspection reports, loan estimates, never the actual application. The $80,000 still sat safely in his account. The closing was Friday. He could have wired it, but only if he trusted me. That evening, I came home buzzing about gray paint samples for the master bedroom. "Hey, babe, look at this one," I said, holding up a swatch. His stomach sank, the warehouse phone still pressed against his palm. "Got a weird call today from the title company," he said slowly. My body tensed for just a second, but I masked it quickly. "Oh, about what?" I asked, smiling, but inside panic flickered. "They said only your name is on the application. Asked if my $80,000 was a gift." I laughed, a small, practiced laugh. "What? No, that's wrong. Must be an error. I'll call my cousin tomorrow." I tried to sound casual, brushing off the tension. "I'll call them right now, actually." He reached for his phone. I grabbed his wrist. "Babe, they're closed. Let's deal with it in the morning," I said, voice calm but sticky with nervous heat. "Why are you sweating?" he asked. "It's just hot in here," I muttered. Colin nodded slowly, his chest tight, feeling the first real cracks in our relationship. The calm he usually carried was replaced with a strange, hot silence. "Interesting paperwork," he thought. That was all he said before going to bed. I followed, chatting nonstop, telling a story I could barely keep consistent. The night ended with me sleeping on the couch. By morning, Colin called the title company immediately. He told them to cancel any wire transfers, to put extra security on his account. Then, a quick call to a real estate attorney confirmed what he feared. Verbal agreements meant nothing. He hadn't signed anything, and legally, there was nothing tying him to the house or my plan. He felt calm in a way that startled him. Betrayal had a clarity all its own. His $80,000 was safe. But the trust, the life we had been building together, it was teetering on the edge of collapse. The house we dreamed of, the future he had planned, the sacrifices he had made, they had all been leveraged without his knowledge, and I was at the center of it. Foreshadowing lingered in the air. This was only the beginning. The confrontation, the fallout, the legal chaos, all of it was waiting. The morning sun spilled across the apartment, sharp and unrelenting, but Colin hardly noticed. He sat at the small kitchen table, phone in hand, mind running through every document I had ever shown him, every inspection report, every loan estimate, every email I'd claimed was for organization purposes. None of them included his name on the application. None. I appeared in the doorway, hair still tousled, a cup of coffee in hand. "Morning," I said, trying to sound cheerful. But he didn't respond. His eyes were fixed on the phone, calm and silent, in a way that made my stomach twist. "Natalie," he said finally, his voice even but firm, "I need you to explain something." I smiled tightly. "Sure, what is it?" He put the phone down, leaning back in his chair. "The title company. Only your name is on the application for the house. My $80,000 is supposed to be a gift. Do you know about this?" My smile faltered for just a fraction of a second. I forced it back into place. "What? No, that's ridiculous. Must be a mistake. I'll call my cousin. They handle this stuff all the time." Colin didn't flinch. He waited, watching me like a hawk. My heart started racing. The calm I had carefully constructed felt like it was cracking under his gaze. "It's not a mistake," he said, voice low. "I checked everything. The application, the emails, the documents. You've only ever shown me papers with your name, never the actual application. Did you plan this?" I laughed, a small, nervous sound. "Plan this? No. I mean, my cousin said it'd be easier with just my name because of the credit score thing. I was going to add you after closing, that's all." Colin's eyes narrowed slightly. "And you didn't think to tell me this, ever?" I just kept forgetting," I said quickly. My words felt flimsy even to me. Panic laced my voice. "I wanted it to be easier for us, for you, for the approval process." He leaned back, shaking his head slowly, a strange calm settling over him. "You forgot to mention that you were buying a house without me, using my money." Tears welled in my eyes, not the pretty, quiet kind, but the raw, desperate kind. "You're twisting this. I was going to add you after everything was approved. I was protecting us from complications." Colin's voice stayed steady. "Complications? From what?" I didn't answer. My explanation felt smaller, feebler, even to me. I had rehearsed it in my head countless times, but now it sounded absurd. He didn't yell, he didn't shout. He simply said, "Interesting paperwork." And with that, he turned and went to the bedroom. I followed, talking, rambling, explaining, but he stopped listening halfway through. Eventually, I gave up and lay on the couch, exhausted from the act of seeming innocent. By mid-morning, Colin had taken matters into his own hands. He called the title company first, canceling any potential wire transfer of his money. Then the bank, securing his account. Finally, a quick consultation with a real estate attorney confirmed his suspicions. Legally, there was nothing tying him to the house. Everything was in my name. I tried to maintain calm, but the cracks in my façade were showing. "Colin, you don't understand. This isn't fraud. I wasn't stealing from you. I was helping us." He shook his head. "Helping us? With what? My $80,000? The trust we built over 6 years?" The room was silent, except for the hum of the refrigerator. I wanted to argue, to convince him, to make him see it my way, but his calm, collected gaze made every word feel hollow. "You're facing consequences," he said quietly. "I can't let this slide. I need to protect myself, my money, my life, my future. You made your choice. Now you face yours." I could feel the panic rising, thick and suffocating. "Colin, please, we can fix this. I'll explain to my parents. They'll understand. We can work it out." He didn't respond. The weight of our shared history pressed down on me, making it impossible to breathe. The trust, the plans, the shared dreams, they had all been fractured in an instant, by my own hands. And he was right. There was no fixing this, not without him surrendering the very thing he had earned. I sat on the couch, quiet now, listening to him methodically go through each step, securing his accounts, contacting the attorney, preparing for the fallout I had caused. I realized, with a chilling clarity, that this was more than a mistake. This was a betrayal I had engineered, and Colin was calmly, ruthlessly reclaiming control. The storm was just beginning, and I had no idea how far it would go. Colin spent the next few days in a strange haze of focus. Every call, every email, every text he ignored or blocked, It was all part of a quiet, meticulous plan to protect himself. The house was no longer just a dream. It had become a battleground. Meanwhile, I was spiraling. My parents arrived unannounced, streaming into his apartment as though it were a neutral zone. My dad, red-faced and loud, launched into a lecture about standing up for your woman and how Colin had supposedly tried to deny me what was rightfully mine. My mom flitted around, tears streaking her cheeks, begging him to just give me the money, to fix this before it ruined my life. Colin listened, quietly, calmly. Every word I had rehearsed to convince him, every tear, every pleading glance, met with the same measured detachment. He didn't yell, he didn't panic. He simply repeated, "Your parents' approval doesn't change the facts. I never agreed to this. My money is mine. Legally, I'm protected." I could feel my control slipping. Friends began calling, texting, sending messages on social media, each one more accusatory than the last. "You're cruel," they said. "You're ruining her life over one mistake." One by one, Colin blocked them. He didn't reply. Each notification was a reminder that my carefully constructed narrative was crumbling. Then came the court papers. I had filed suit, claiming verbal agreement, claiming we were essentially married for 2 years, that the $80,000 was ours. The courthouse smelled of bleach and fear. My lawyer, fresh-faced and nervous, shuffled papers as I followed, heart hammering in my chest. Colin's attorney, by contrast, exuded quiet authority. He laid out every detail. Bank records showing the account in his name since 2018. Utility bills, proof of sole payments. The killer text messages, where I referred to the down payment as his money, over and over again, were submitted as evidence. The judge barely looked up. "Ma'am," she asked me, voice measured, "do you have any documentation showing joint ownership of these funds?" I shook my head, helpless. "No, but we lived together for 2 years." The judge's gaze was sharp. "This state does not recognize common law marriage." "Any written agreements?" I stammered. "We talked about it verbally, about using the money together." Her lips pressed in a thin line. "Verbal agreements about financial contributions do not constitute joint ownership. The account is solely in his name. Case dismissed." The courtroom felt like it tilted under me. My parents turned red, my lawyer muttered something under her breath, and I felt the walls of my world collapse. The social fallout was immediate. Friends calling, colleagues whispering, the small town buzzing with gossip. Colin didn't flinch. He collected himself, made a few final calls, and quietly walked out. But I wasn't finished. I showed up at his workplace the following week. The warehouse was humming with forklifts and pallets, yet I pushed past security, my desperation propelling me forward. "Colin, we need to talk," I called, voice cracking. He didn't flinch. "You need to leave before I call the cops," he said calmly. Security started moving toward me, but I waved them off, determined to make him see reason. "You don't understand. I'm losing everything. My credit, my apartment, my life. You can't just leave me like this." His eyes were steady, unwavering. "I'm facing consequences for my actions," he said quietly. "You're facing yours. That's the difference between us. I didn't gamble with someone else's money. You did." Every word hit me like a punch. I tried to argue, tried to claim misunderstandings, tried to spin my narrative. But he refused. He had already calculated every step, anticipated every move, and I had nothing left to leverage. As I left the warehouse, defeated, I realized that the world hadn't just sided with him legally. It had sided with reality. The friends who had once cheered me on were ghosts. The parents who had once defended me were complicit in my public humiliation. Every attempt to spin the story, every tear, every accusation, only revealed the truth. I had acted recklessly, and Colin had acted wisely. Foreshadowing lingered in the air, a subtle reminder. Consequences, once set in motion, have a life of their own. And in this war, I had lost. The courtroom was behind us, but the fallout wasn't over. Natalie Mercer, once vibrant, confident, and self-assured, was now a cautionary tale in a town that thrived on gossip. Her credit score had plummeted, her social circle evaporated, and she was forced back into her parents' home, paying rent she had once considered trivial. Every decision she made now carried weighty consequences, each a reminder of the miscalculation that had cost her so much. Colin, by contrast, felt an odd mix of relief and emptiness. His $80,000 remained intact, untouched. His trust in people had shifted from casual to calculated. Locks changed, accounts secured, social media restricted, two-factor authentication enabled. He had armored himself against further betrayal. He walked through his apartment one quiet evening, the sunlight falling softly over the hardwood floors. He'd started looking at houses again, but this time differently. Smaller, manageable, fully in his name, fully under his control. The dream of a shared home had been shattered, but the freedom to build his future on his terms remained. Late that night, a new text appeared on his phone from a number he didn't recognize. Natalie. She apologized, her words hesitant, sorrowful, laden with the weight of her mistakes. "I thought I was being smart," she wrote. "Securing my future. I didn't see it as stealing. I hurt you. I hurt my parents. I ruined my own life. I don't expect forgiveness." Colin read the message twice, then deleted it. There was nothing left to say. Forgiveness was irrelevant. Lessons were earned through consequence. He thought back to their shared moments, the excitement over paint swatches, the long drives discussing furniture layouts, the dreams of a future built together. Memories now tainted, sharp reminders of trust misplaced. Yet beneath the bitterness, a quiet clarity settled. Love and money were never the same, and the line between care and control had been crossed without remorse. Colin allowed himself a small smile, thinking about the future. Perhaps one day he would find someone new, someone trustworthy, someone who valued partnership without manipulation. But for now, he was content. The $80,000 remained his. The house hunt was his to manage, and his life, his choices, his boundaries, his control, remained firmly in his hands. Natalie faced the consequences of her actions every day: court costs, financial instability, social alienation. They were not punishments handed down arbitrarily. They were the natural fallout of her choices. Colin understood that fully, and though the sting of betrayal lingered, it was tempered by the satisfaction of standing firm, protecting what was rightfully his, and refusing to be drawn into chaos for the sake of someone else's mistakes. In the end, the story didn't end with vengeance or revenge. It ended with lessons learned and boundaries restored. Colin had lost the dream of a shared home but gained certainty and peace. Natalie had lost much, yet her mistakes were hers alone to reckon with. The sun set over the quiet apartment, a soft golden light illuminating hardwood floors that would one day host a new chapter, a new dream, one built carefully, deliberately, and entirely on Colin's own terms. The $80,000 remained untouched, a symbol not just of financial security, but of trust reclaimed and control regained. And for Colin, that was more than enough.